Alright, as we begin the muscles of the leg, we want to think about anatomically how the leg muscles work, and again, how certain muscles overlap and certain muscles insert underneath other muscles. Alright, the one we're going to start with is a muscle that runs from basically the center of the front of the hip around the side of the knee. Now, while I'm sculpting, I do want to make sure that, especially for the leg muscles here, and actually for many parts of the body, we want to make sure that our mirror is turned on the x-axis. So if I just look at that, it shows me that the mirror axis is along the center of the body. So that's going to make a big difference as I sculpt to make sure that I'm able to work on both sides of the mesh at the same time. So let's make that brush a little bit bigger. And I'm going to have to test and see, make sure my strength is where I want it. So as I click and drag here, that's actually going to work pretty well for strength. Alright, now I'm going to hold down the control key and we're going to carve in a little bit on the front edge of that muscle mass. I'm going to make our brush a little bit smaller, carve in a little bit more along that edge. Now again, we're just blocking right now, so we can't worry too much about the absolute accuracy of the mesh here. Obviously things are getting a little bit rough, but as far as that goes, that's not a problem right now. So we're going to make that brush a little bit bigger again, and we're going to emphasize this large muscle group right here. That's already looking better. Alright, now we have a large muscle mass that works right around this area. So we need to basically carve back into the mesh. We're going to get our brush a little bit smaller. We're going to carve back in around here to help define that a little more. Alright, and then we can make our brush a little bit bigger again and start bringing that out a little more. Now, this muscle mass that rides on basically the outer part of the leg doesn't have nearly as defined of a bottom edge as this large muscle mass that's on the inner part of the leg. So we want to make sure that we've got a large kind of volume to the base of that muscle. And the one on the outside here, we're going to kind of increase the volume throughout the mass of the muscle, but we do want to make sure that at the insertion point down here a little farther, we're going to taper that out a little bit more. So with the smooth brush, I'm going to go back over that edge. Now I'm going to decrease the strength of my smooth brush a bit, and we're going to soften some of this up a little bit. So even though our barbarian should have pretty massive muscles, we want to make sure that we're not getting too far away from reality. But until we subdivide the mesh again, we're not going to be able to make this anywhere near perfect. So we're going to carve this edge back in a little bit more again. And for now, that's going to have to be alright. Alright, that actually looks pretty good for now. Now, the way this muscle mass works on the side of the leg here, we don't have a straight line here, but it's actually pretty close to a straight line. Up here at the top of the hip, though, we do have some kind of additional muscle masses, where we're going to need to define a muscle mass that runs a bit more around the side of the body. So we're going to have to increase that right through here a bit. Increase my strength. Alright, for now, until I subdivide the mesh again, there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do with that spot. So we're going to start to just pull out some of the masses here that basically attach to the crest of the hip bone. So we can start to define that. But again, until we subdivide the mesh again, we're going to have some bizarre results right there. So we won't worry too much about that for now. Alright, now looking around the back of the leg, if we think about the gluteal muscle, it actually comes out and around the leg mass. So we're going to need to carve back in here to help define how that gluteal muscle actually comes out and around. Now again, until we subdivide a bit more, we're not going to be able to adjust that muscle mass exactly how we want. We just want to start kind of roughing in the volume. Now the hamstrings on the back of the leg are basically a group of about 3 or 4 muscles, depending on whether or not we count this one on the inner part of the leg, that run down the back of the leg and allow you to retract or bend your knee. It's also called I believe the biceps femoris. So those masses are basically what bends your leg backward. So we're just going to smooth that back in a bit. All right, for now, that's going to have to be enough. We'll move on to the lower leg before we subdivide and continue to add detail.